I didn't start boxing to fight other people. I started boxing to stop fighting myself. I've struggled with anxiety and depression since I was like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old maybe. And at that age, I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't explain it. I just knew that there was something heavy right here. And no matter what I did, that weight never came off. All right. I grew up with both parents, and I say that because I had a pretty good childhood as far as, my parents raising me, but I witnessed a lot at a very young age, and I had to mature. I didn't have time to, let's say, be a kid. I had to mature in ways that I shouldn't have. And at a very, very young age, I started to just kind of compress and, dig a hole and bury all that. Fast forward, I built a family, I built a life, but that weight, it only got heavier and heavier because the more time progressed, the deeper and the more stuff I stuffed down that hole. Waking up most days was probably the hardest part of the day. It was just rolling out of bed. Simple tasks, simple things that are normal for other people felt like climbing mountains. The smallest inconvenience felt like crossing the Grand Canyon for me. Coming back to, my parents doing a pretty good job at raising us, my dad always said one thing to me, and it's the one thing that stuck really the most. It was, eres un Torres, you're a Torres. Los Torres no nos rajamos. Torreses don't quit. Eres un guerrero, you're a warrior. And my dad told me that we had Aztec blood running through our veins. And even through the darkest days, that one little thing was always what helped me continue pushing to the next day. Even though I didn't know what the next day would carry, it was what helped me push through for the next day. That is when senior, my dad, introduced me to boxing. My dad boxed back in Mexico, and even though my mom was highly against any form of violence in the household, she didn't care what the reason was for. Senior started teaching me basics, fundamentals. We'd shadow box, we'd do mitt work. He took me to a couple gyms locally, but with mom being highly against it, it never really worked out. We'd watch fights together, and at that point, that's when I fell in love with the sport before I even really hopped in here. And even though senior planted that seed, I was never able to fully exercise it. I couldn't water it. I couldn't reap the benefits from what boxing could have done for me at a young age like that. And, fast forward to last year, the burden never got lighter. It only got heavier and heavier as time progressed, as life happened. And I started seeing coaches' signs around town. And each sign was like a magnet. It pulled me a little more, and I was like, should I reach out? Should I not? I don't know. A good friend of mine reached out to me and told me about the signs and if I'd seen the signs around town, and confirmed with me through his contacts that Coach was the real deal. He was a grounded, driven person that I should definitely give it a try. So at that point, that's when I called Coach and booked my first private session. From that very first private session, meeting Coach was like I met a long lost brother. We are alike in so many ways. We share so many similarities. We view the world very similarly, which helped establish some rapport. I felt extremely comfortable at that point. We did a 30-minute workout, which made me feel more alive than I had in a long time. We even did a super light spar at the end of that day. I remember driving back home and talking to my wife for 30 minutes straight about, I can't remember what was the last time I felt this happy. And at that point, it was the moment I realized that very first session was the very start of something that was way deeper than just training. At first, it was just a private session here and there, once, twice a week. Work got in the way a lot, but when I couldn't go, I felt emptiness. I started feeling that emptiness again, even though every time I was here, I felt like I was at home again. And Coach started pitching, hey, let's move from the private sessions and let's get you into a class setting. And I didn't really like the idea at first. I'm kind of a private guy, even though I'm on social media all the time. And I was like, I don't know, coach, maybe eventually. And he kept pitching the idea, Carlos, I really want you to get in on this class. I think it's going to benefit you. And I've always trusted coach's words. So I said, you know what? Let's do it. And I showed up for my 6 a.m. class, and I completely, wholeheartedly fell in love with the energy, the community, the culture that MCKO has built so far. The camaraderie, the brotherhood that we share in here, that's what I fell in love with. And through the consistency of those classes and the camaraderie, the way that the guys we're all consistently pushing each other forward and trying to improve ourselves, that's when I really noticed myself changing. I started feeling a transformation deep from within inside of me. And I was proud. I was happy of who I was starting to see in the reflection of that mirror. And if I wasn't here, I felt like I was away from home. I felt like something was missing. And then the moment I walked through these doors again, I felt at peace. I felt at home again. I felt a lot of that anger, that anxiety, that depression would just melt away right at the door. And I come in here and it's just me. And I don't know, there's nothing else that can, so far there's nothing else that's replaced that feeling. And I think one of the biggest things that boxing has taught me is that you can't lie in here. You can try to lie to yourself all you want, but when you walk through those doors and coach asks you, have you been training? And you say yes, that's gonna translate in here if you did or not. Have you been watching footage? Have you been keeping up with road work? It could be any question. It could be any fib, any lie. You can't lie in here because every lack of action directly and immediately translates in here, whether it's on the bag work, whether it's simple as jump roping, whether it's road work, or whether it's Thursday night heavy spar day. If you're not in here full time working on yourself, or even if you're away from the gym, if you're not laying down the bricks, the foundation of bettering yourself in here, when it's time to show your results of your hard work in here, they're not gonna be there because you've been lying to yourself the whole time. So now let's flip the script. You can't lie in here. But the beauty about that is that there's so many truths that you can actually see if you just allow yourself to do it, which also comes with the self-discipline that this requires. Not only physical aspects, I've lost weight, I feel better. My wife compliments me all the time that I look better, but it's in here. It's the lack of anxiety that I have nowadays. It's the lack of depression. It's easier to wake up in the morning now. Simple tasks are no longer mountains to climb. Simple inconveniences are no longer crossing the Grand Canyon for me. Everything that I do in here, I do my very best to try to translate it into every real life situation that we go through. And it has helped me progress. It has helped me become a better father, a better man, a better business owner, a better friend. If it's as simple as mind over matter and we're overcomplicating it, and here in the gym, if I can do that for 45 minutes, okay, I can do that for 45 more minutes at work too. And then every 45 more minutes keeps going by, it's another hour, And by the end of the day, you got through your day, and that was one of the easiest days you just went through. So the truth is that if you just allow yourself to do it, this sport it brings the best out in you. And not only does it bring out the best in you, but it brings out things that you didn't know existed. Resilience, discipline, structure, that's always been there. But you didn't know because you're in your own dark hole. And I feel like this sport exposes that part of you. And if you just allow yourself to do it, it can turn you into a much better person. I may not have lost 100 pounds, but I lost anxiety, I lost anger, I lost depression, and I lost those pesky little voices in my head that constantly told me that I wasn't enough. All right, so at this point, we're asking, what's next? I've been here for roughly a year, on and off, consistently, maybe the last 5-6 months. And the question is always, even for myself, because I'm a goal-driven person, what's next? What's the next goal? Well, the next goal is competing. I want to get in there. I want to get into the Iron Sharpens Iron events. I want to continue to better myself. At this point, my mental state's the best it's been in 20 years. And that's a goal that I didn't think I was ever going to reach. So we reach it, and now what's the next goal? We continue to not only work on mental health, but now we start chasing other things that we want, that we've been wanting for a long time, and it's competition. So that's gonna be it. That's my next goal. However, in order to compete, we need to replace bad habits with good habits. And some of us are facing addiction. Some of us are facing other things. I myself face a form of addiction, and it's a bad habit, and I need to push past it. Something that I depended on for a long time. I need to stop using that crutch and start depending on boxing instead. Pick up that good habit, the habit that is always gonna reap benefits in here. No matter the age, no matter the time, no matter what. This place, this sport, it's always going to reap you the best possible benefits of who you are as a person instead of something else.